What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com. Here are my DFS picks for NBA Thursday, March 25th. These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button and hit that bell icon so you don't miss our new videos. In this video, I'm going to go over my top picks for today's NBA slate. And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made. Okay guys, we have a 5-game slate tonight, so let's take a look at the point guard position. I like Ben Simmons from the Philadelphia 76ers playing the LA Lakers, who have a good defense overall, and they give up the 12th most fantasy points to opposing point guards. Ben Simmons has averaged 40.1 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 34 minutes per game with a 21% usage rate. He scored 39 and 31 fantasy points in the last 2 games, playing 34 and 37 minutes. He's projected at 42.4 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.2 times value. He's 8,200 FanDuel salary and 400 more on DraftKings. He scored 50, 59, 26, and 48 fantasy points in his last 4 games versus the Lakers. And Vegas thinks there's going to be 211.5 points scored in this game. He's got excellent player versus team history, so I like Ben Simmons here versus the LA Lakers. Okay, another point guard that I like, this is a value play for you. I like Alex Caruso from the LA Lakers playing the Philadelphia 76ers, who have a good defense overall, but they give up the 5th most fantasy points to opposing point guards. Now, Alex Caruso, he's only averaged 15.6 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 20 minutes per game with a 14% usage rate. But he scored 23, 16, and 16 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 24, 24, and 20 minutes. So his minutes have been bumped up a little bit. He's getting a little bit more production. He's projected at 17 fantasy points here tonight, but I think he can get you 20 or more fantasy points here and get you 5 times value or more. He's only 3,600 FanDuel salary and 300 more on DraftKings. Now, he scored 17 and 27 fantasy points in his last 2 games versus the 76ers. Definitely a high risk, high reward play. So I like Alex Caruso as a high risk, high reward play here versus the Philadelphia 76ers. Okay, let's take a look at the shooting guard position. I like Tyrese Halliburton from the Sacramento Kings playing the Golden State Warriors, who have the 11th worst defense overall, and they're middle of the pack defending opposing shooting guards. Tyrese Halliburton has averaged 28.9 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 30 minutes per game with an 18% usage rate. He scored 36, 37, and 19 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 35, 36, and 26 minutes. He's projected at 30.3 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.3 times value. He's 5,700 FanDuel salary and 300 more on DraftKings. Vegas thinks there's going to be 223.5 points scored in this game, so I like Tyrese Halliburton here versus the Golden State Warriors. Okay, another shooting guard that I like is Paul George from the LA Clippers playing the San Antonio Spurs, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall, and they give up the 13th most fantasy points to opposing shooting guards. Paul George has averaged 39.2 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 33 minutes per game with a 29% usage rate. He scored 32, 27, and 42 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 33, 33, and 32 minutes. He's projected at 40.7 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5 times value. He's $8,200 FanDuel salary, and he's $400 less on DraftKings. So I love that DraftKings price. Now Vegas thinks there's going to be 221.5 points scored in this game, so I like Paul George, especially on DraftKings, here versus the San Antonio Spurs. Before I continue with the picks, I'm excited today because we added a new contest for everyone watching. If you want to enter the drawing for $100 PayPal, all you need to do is like this video, hit that subscribe button, and make a quick comment below to be entered into the drawing. We'll reply to a random comment and let you know that you won, and then we'll send you $100 PayPal. So it's that easy, and we pick a new winner every Saturday and announce them in our video. So get your comment in now so I can add another entry for you. Okay, let's take a look at the small forward position. I like RJ Barrett from the New York Knicks playing the Washington Wizards, who have the second worst defense overall, and they give up the 8th most fantasy points to opposing small forwards. RJ Barrett has averaged 30 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 34 minutes per game with a 24% usage rate. He scored 39, 34, and 27 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 39, 39, and 41 minutes. So he's playing monster minutes, projected at 32.5 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5 times value. He's $6,500 FanDuel salary and $300 more on DraftKings. He scored 39, 24, and 32 fantasy points in his last 3 games versus the Wizards, and he's playing around 40 minutes a night, so he's got a great chance to hit 5 times value or more. And Vegas thinks there's going to be 226.5 points scored in this game, so you got a high-scoring game, a fast-paced game, and a great matchup. So I like RJ Barrett here versus the Washington Wizards. Okay, another small forward that I like is Jimmy Butler from the Miami Heat playing the Portland Trailblazers, who have the 7th worst defense overall, and they give up the 4th most fantasy points to opposing small forwards. Jimmy Butler has averaged 46.5 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 33 minutes per game with a 28% usage rate. He scored 27, 48, and 36 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 26, 41, and 31 minutes. He's projected at 46.4 fantasy points here tonight. That's 4.9 times value. He's $9,500 FanDuel salary, but he's $500 less on DraftKings. So I like that DraftKings price. So I like that he only played 26 minutes last game. I expect him to play a ton of minutes here tonight. It's a great matchup. He's got 50 plus fantasy point upside. So I like Jimmy Butler here versus the Portland Trailblazers. Okay, who do we have at the power forward position? I like Robert Covington from the Portland Trailblazers playing the Miami Heat, who have a good defense overall, and they're middle of the pack defending opposing power forwards. Robert Covington has averaged 26.4 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 32 minutes per game with a 12% usage rate. He scored 39, 24, and 26 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 24, 31, and 36 minutes. He's projected at 26.8 fantasy points here tonight. Now on FanDuel, that's only 4.4 times value because he's $6,100 FanDuel salary, but he's $400 less on DraftKings. And I think he can score 30 fantasy points or more here, get you 5 times value or more. He scored 28, 30, 20, and 21 fantasy points in his last 4 games versus the Heat. So I like Robert Covington here versus the Miami Heat. Okay, another play that I like here at the power forward position is Tony Bradley from the Philadelphia 76ers playing the LA Lakers, who have a good defense overall, and they've been good versus opposing power forwards. But Tony Bradley scored 42 fantasy points last game in 32 minutes with a 13% usage rate. Now, he's only projected at 19.5 fantasy points here tonight, but I think we got to bump up that projection just a little bit, maybe around 25 fantasy points here tonight. On FanDuel, that'd be close to 5 times value because he's 5,400 FanDuel salary, but he's 1,100 less on DraftKings. So I love that DraftKings price. Probably a DraftKings play only for me, where he doesn't need much to hit 5 times value on DraftKings. So I like Tony Bradley on DraftKings here versus the LA Lakers. Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all of our DFS tools for all sports. You can try the Position Optimizer, where you can see the top players ranked for each position. And we added a new Player Trends tool, where you can see the top salary differences between FanDuel and DraftKings. It's a really good tool to help you pick out value for the site that you're playing on. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups. Okay, moving on to the center position. I like Ivica Zubac from the LA Clippers playing the San Antonio Spurs, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall, and they're middle-of-the-pack defending opposing centers. Ivica Zubac has averaged 21.5 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 21 minutes per game with a 15% usage rate. But he's playing more minutes now, and he scored 32, 33, and 22 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 32, 24, and 24 minutes. He's projected at 26.5 fantasy points here tonight, but I think he can get you 28 fantasy points or more and get you 5 times value or more. He's 5,600 He's 5,600 FanDuel salary and the same price on DraftKings. And Vegas thinks there's going to be 221.5 points scored in this game, so I like Ivica Zubac here versus the San Antonio Spurs. Okay, another center that I like, especially on DraftKings, is Mitchell Robinson from the New York Knicks playing the Washington Wizards, who have the second worst defense overall, and they give up the second most fantasy points to opposing centers. Mitchell Robinson has averaged 26.6 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 28 minutes per game with a 12% usage rate. He scored 40 fantasy points last game in 30 minutes, and now he's projected at 24.2 fantasy points here tonight, which is not very good on FanDuel because he's 6,200 FanDuel salary, but he's 1,100 less on DraftKings. So I'm going to put him at about 30 fantasy points here tonight, which would be over 5 times value on DraftKings and maybe close to 5 times value on FanDuel, but I don't think I'm going to play him on FanDuel tonight. That DraftKings price is just way too low, and Vegas thinks there's going to be 226.5 points scored in this game, and he scored 40, 33, 14, 25, and 29 fantasy points in his last 5 games versus the Wizards. So 4 out of those 5 games, he's getting you 5 times value or more on DraftKings. It's a fantastic matchup, excellent player versus team history. So I like Mitchell Robinson on DraftKings here versus the Washington Wizards. If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smiggity smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this NBA slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again, and good luck.